Hi, my name is Jo Hardin. I'm class of 1995. I was a mathematics major. So I went to high school in 3 different states, and I started in Portland, Oregon, where I had grown up, and ended in Ohio. And I was anxious to come back to the West Coast. My older sister had gone to Swarthmore, and so she was on the East Coast, and I had gone to visit her quite a few times, and I loved it. And I just loved the small liberal arts culture. So I looked around and I thought, Pomona College seems like a really great place, and it's on the West Coast, and it was actually the only school I applied to. I really liked the small classes. I liked the community aspect of it. I was a student athlete, so I really liked the idea that I could swim here and have that continue to be a part of my life. Being a student athlete was a big thing for me. I really appreciated the camaraderie and the support system that it gave me. Additionally, I was always a stronger student academically when I was in season because it gave me that structure to my day. I had a great coach, Penny Dean, who is also an alum of Pomona, and she really just was a mentor and really built a team that was a fantastic team to be a part of. So when I got to Pomona, I thought I was going to be a math major. It was always the subject that I had enjoyed the most and felt most comfortable, but I thought I wanted to become something called an actuary, which is somebody who does math for insurance companies. And so I started taking statistics courses thinking that that's what I was going to do. And what happened was that I fell in love with college. And I thought to myself, okay, well, what can I do to stay in college for the rest of my life? So yeah, kind of my junior year is when I started thinking about it and thinking like, okay, I'd love to stay here. I'd love to teach here. I'd love to, be a part of this community. After graduate school, I spent 2 years at a postdoc in Seattle, Fred Hutchinson Cancer Research Center. But while I was there, I continued to think that I really wanted to go back to Pomona. I wanted to go back to a small liberal arts college, but I knew I had to get this research experience. So that's why I was continuing this postdoc to try to build my own program, my own research program. I sort of knew how old my advisor was. I sort of knew that there was this opportunity that, he wasn't just a few years older than me. He was at the age where he might be retiring. But I didn't actually think that the stars were going to align. It wasn't like I was 100% committed to coming back to Pomona. It was that I was committed to being at a small place. And so in the second year of my postdoc, I did a pretty small academic search, and I applied to 4 liberal arts colleges, and I got this job. And I think that my knowledge of the dorms and the sponsor system and athletics and stuff like that really helped me connect with students. But I also really had to work those first few years to just establish myself as somebody who, it took me a long time to get my confidence up where I was like, no, I do have something to contribute. I do have something to tell you. And so my gray hair, it's gotten easier in that way to really establish that relationship. I'm a statistician, so I work in a world of data, and I'm always trying to push my students to ask questions like, how would this data have even been collected? Like, who volunteered this information? Or was it some kind of broader study that, wasn't just based on volunteers? And I just think that with social media, or just generally with media, that there's so much disinformation and misinformation. It's so important for our students to be critically evaluating all of that information and just at every step of the way asking why. And I think we really do that. So beyond the classroom, my favorite part of my job is working with students on research. I work with students every summer, and I just love the intense thinking that happens when we're working together on a research project. And part of that is that human connection. So we, at a small liberal arts college, you have this opportunity to work collaboratively, but literally at the table together, right? We're sitting and we're working in a space together. And so I think that's another big, important aspect of being at a place like Pomona College, is having those strong human connections. I think that if someone's considering academia, they need to really love it. I feel so blessed by how much I love my job, and that I get to wake up every morning and come to work with people who I just adore, both my colleagues as well as my students and the staff that I interact with. But it's a really intense job, and both in terms of the hours and in terms of just having the job be with you all the time. You know, my students come to my house, and you know, one of my daughters was hanging out with her friends, or hanging out at her friend's home, and said, you know, so-and-so's parents never work at home. They never bring their work home. They don't work in the evenings. And she's like looking at me, she's like, you work every single night, you know? And so, so just kind of thinking about that, like, this is an all-encompassing job, but if you love it, then, you know, I wouldn't want to be doing anything else.